This is Beach Talk Radio.
Good morning, Mr. and Mrs. America, and all ships at sea. This is your captain speaking, Mean Gene. Mean Gene. The following will be a test of the ship's whistle, the sonar alarm, the cable alarm, and the atomic attack alarm.
Live from Peach Time Out in the heart of Times Square. You're listening to Beach Talk Radio with Kim and Ed Ryan.
And a good morning, everybody, and welcome to Beach Talk Radio, episode number 119. Today is Saturday, June 27, 2020, and we're broadcasting live from Peach Time Out in Times Square on Fort Myers Beach. And we want to welcome everybody from around the country, as well as those watching right here on the beach or on Sanibel this weekend. And we want to remind everybody that the audio from the show will always be available within 24 hours at beachtalkradio.com. And, of course, the show is now live on Facebook and the YouTube. We want to say thanks to all our great sponsors. We'll tell you more about them later. Mangaritas right next door to Pete's. Carla's Custom Painted Furniture Creations, who sponsors our question of the day on Facebook. CCG, Certified Public Accountants. IslandOils.com. Fort Myers Tiki Tours, which we'll have a lot to talk about at the end of the show because of Father's Day. And also our longest supporter, Pete's Time Out. And who else? Who did I forget? Shuckers and the Cottage Bar. So welcome to episode number 119, dear.
Well, thank you, dear.
Where's your mask?
I have it with me right here.
All right. Well, you don't need to wear it right now.
Well, you brought it up now.
So we're going to talk about later on. We're going to talk about the masks. We're going to have two more guests after our first guest. Are you ready to roll, or did you want to talk about something first? It's up to you. You can't hear you with the mask on.
Can they hear me?
Oh, yeah. You're going to wear the mask the whole time?
You brought it up.
All right. Is there anything you want to start with? Because you're totally disorganized today. And I forgot my pants today, so I'm a little disorganized. But
that is right. That is what we wanted to talk about. You have, thankfully,
borrowed somebody's
you were able to borrow
today,
somebody's pants today.
I need to show everybody on the Facebook what happened.
Everybody has
he
to
said
see
he was
this.
a 34, but he was not a 34, so I needed to find some fishing wire and
I can't
tie up
think
my
of that
pants.
movie. That the Tom Hanks movie where he was on an island.
Forrest Gump?
No.
All right. Well, you'll think of it later. All right,
Castaway.
Okay, Castaway. All right, everybody. Our first guest is going to join us in just a moment, but we wanted to show you something right before we introduce our guest. So stand by for this. Here we go. This is something brand new we're trying. All righty. I don't know if the sound played on that. I couldn't hear the sound, but hopefully it did. Our first guest today, Jason, we're going to ask you to come a little bit closer so we can get you right in the camera, is Sanibel Council member Jason Mon, and Jason is running for District number 76.
House District 76, the Fighting 76th.
House District 76. So how are things with you?
They're going fantastic, Ed. And Kim, thanks so much for having me on this morning. I really appreciate the opportunity to come and speak to everybody.
So thank you for joining us.
We were talking a little bit before the show that you started the campaign a year ago.
That's right. You know, it was one of those things that, well, the campaign actually in reality started back in 2015, 2016, when we had the really bad algal events where the Caloosahatchee was turning green and we were dealing with red tide. But with this campaign itself, one of those things is I felt that you needed to get out early and let people know what you're about, to give them actual time to talk to you, to discuss the issues, and show that you're prepared to serve.
So why did you decide that you wanted to run for House District? Why not stay in Sanibel? And, you know, it's a nice little place to run a nice little community.
It's
mayor seat's coming up.
It's a fantastic thing. But I actually came here from Ireland as a boy. When I was 15, I went to Bishop Verot High School here in town. I'd first come out and start spending time in 76. But when I came here, I was so welcomed by everybody in Lee County, and I was taught to fish, and I was taught to water ski and do all the things that we love. And I decided to sit down and write myself a list of the things that I felt a son of the Republic, and particularly an adopted son, should accomplish. And all of those things I've done. And that service, first of all, look after yourself, get a job, have a family. And when you've got spare time, I coached all the teams out at Sanibel for the kids. I'm the scoutmaster out there. And then when you have extra time and experience in the business world, then you start to serve on some of your local charitable boards. And I do that pro bono for a lot of the ones we have around here in town. And then I promised my dad when I got here that one of his sons would be elected to the city council. And I felt I owed it to him to serve the community that were so kind. And the final thing on that list was to go to statewide, that I'd been successful enough, I'd experienced enough, and I'd put enough hard work in to earn the respect of people and to get results. And that's really what I'm interested in.
So why do you think that people hate elected officials right now?
You know what? You get weasels, as with all things in life. And there's a lot to be said for who's backing people and who's buying them. It's an unfair term, but I think sometimes people are very suspicious that once they get elected and they're getting money from outside organizations, et cetera, then that's the last you've ever seen of them, which is a mistake. And I think it's the lure of power. Instead of going up, getting results, then getting back home to your family and friends, where you could sit at somewhere like Pete's Time Out and talk to your friends and locals, and they say, well, look, I think this, that, and the other. If you're in Tallahassee, you're not going to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, can you give us a little bit of history about what you've done thus far? Because you're on the city council now in Sanibel. You also were on the City of Sanibel Planning Commission for a couple of years. And then you also ran previous to this for another office. Is that correct?
It is. And I should tell you, all of those positions you met, both elected and appointed, were all uncompensated. So we're one of the last cities that doesn't pay its city councilman. So you're literally volunteering. In 2016, I had run, and I told to my beautiful wife of 25 years that it was either we fight now for clean water and be poorer now or bankrupt later. And I had a lot of people, see, the way I've always looked at clean water is tied to the economics of our community. Good citizens buy a house, they work hard for 30 years, they sell the house, and then they've squared themselves away for the retirement. And as taxpayers, we don't have to then take care of that extra cost. What was happening was with a micro recession in Lee County, those 30 years of honest hard work by citizens was being wasted. Their property values disappeared. And I felt that this was something, if we wanted our sons and daughters to come home or grow up the same way we did on the coast, then it was time to fight. And she agreed with me.
So I know people didn't get a chance to hear the ad, so we'll try and play it before you go today. But part of the ad is that you're a Trump supporter.
I am.
Do you wish you took that part out of it?
I'm 100% a Trump supporter. Simple as that. And actually, my present is my truck has been keyed twice because of the Trump stickers. But I'll tell you what, it's going to take more than that.
Yeah. So why do you support Trump?
Listen, it's a results issue. I care about substance over form. I've seen what form looks like, but with no results. With Trump, he was actually pushing through the water that money that we needed to fight on the EAA lands. To look after from the federal level, because that was being used. Florida was saying, I'm not going to put in money, and if the feds don't, and then the feds got to say, well, we're not going to put in money. Mm-hmm. And I think he did a lot of great results there. Plus, when you look at his results for all aspects of the economy, we had the best economy in history with the lowest unemployment rates for every demographic that you want to hang a sign on somebody in history. That's what I want. That's what I want for all of us. It's that I emigrated in a Ronald Reagan era. So that's what I understand, is that's winning attitude and supporting each other.
Well, he's no Ronald Reagan, but I see what you're saying. Do you think he's got a chance to win? And how do you think he's been dealing with the COVID-19 situation?
Well, I think the COVID-19 situation has been politicized a great deal, especially, and you can see, we've actually got quotes now where elected officials are saying, we got to keep this going till November. That means that there is an element of our political class who would rather see the people bankrupted just to get Trump out. And anybody who is prepared to do that is somebody I want to be on the opposite side of. And that's why I'm with Donald Trump.
Did you know 123 million people died from COVID so far, according to Joe Biden?
It's extraordinary.
Did you hear him say that?
No, I did not.
Yeah. He came out of his basement one day and he said
the bunker.
123 million
All right,
people. All
but-
right, but sorry, I didn't mean to get off of
I know. And Trump, I'm on neither side, but he has said his
Oh, for sure.
ridiculous things as well. So it's
Nobody's perfect. Let's put
That's
it
right.
I would like
That's
there to
right.
be a presidential campaign where people actually wanted to vote for a candidate as opposed to not wanting to vote for the other candidate, which is what it seems like it has
Right.
been. This, you don't have to answer this.
Anyway.
It seems like
No,
it
but I'm
has
a
been
loyal
this 4
Republican,
years.
and I want to vote for Trump just because
Yeah.
I want those results back. It's up to us to live our lives down here. I want
Sure.
the federal government keeping a good, safe economy, keeping us safe overseas, and the rest of us, little people, little communities, we do our thing, and we'll deal with the social issues and our basic economy. But I need this up here, not social engineering from on high.
So when we all go into the voting booth, I can't see your face, so I don't know if you're ready to
know.
ask a question. When
I
we all
know.
go into the voting booth and see your name, we're going to say, "Oh yeah, he did this on Sanibel."
Now we got our 6
What accomplishments do you want to talk about on
And,
Sanibel?
well, I'll tell you what. One of those things is, and I don't
got
look
6
for
feet
the.
Now we got
Oh, that-
6 feet.
I don't look for the fanfare. Like I said, I look for the results. And some of the things we've accomplished out there and during my tenure, one is our Donax water treatment plant. We've converted that over to tertiary treatment. And what that does is actually remove legacy nutrients, both nitrogen and phosphorus, out of the Sanibel River.
We
or the
know that,
Sanibel Slough.
Jason. Come on,
That's
we know
awesome.
We
Now,
know about legacy phosphorus.
well, I tell you what, and then you've got issues like the Jordan Marsh, where using grants we actually, sort of tied Mother Nature up and said, you're going to help us with this problem, and we're going to create a park with access for citizens to enjoy because they're coughing up for it, where we're cleaning the water using littoral plantings, etc. And really the big sort of mechanical cost was one sump pump that you might put in a house up north where they have basements, etc. And that just takes the water in, puts it in, we track it back and forth, it's naturally purified, and then right back into the Sanibel River. But coastal resiliency for all of us, because listen, we're spending a lot of money living in this area, and the most important thing is to make sure that this area exists. But not giant seawalls, etc., living shorelines where you're going to end up with a static shoreline, but that's full of mangroves, it's full of fish, and we can enjoy it as an additional resource.
Okay,
Okay.
go ahead.
No, I know one of the other things when I was looking through some of your stuff, that the other things on your agenda is home rule and protecting home rule. Can
Yeah.
you speak to that a little bit?
Well, I tell you what, I was just down in Estero complimenting them about a week ago for their hard work with FGCU doing local research on the Estero River, which is about 7 or 8 miles long. So it's something that can be worked with. But I sort of break home rule up into 3 things. Legislate locally on those issues that don't cross outside your own borders. Each city, each area, that's your own business, what your citizens want. The second thing is to shop local. I mean, that's part of home rule too. We have a duty of citizens is to look after our own community and to shop in our own community and to encourage in-state tourism. So, don't fly off somewhere else. Come and spend your money in Southwest Florida. We're open and we'd love to see you. And the last thing is like FGC was doing in their water school is research local. The people who know the most about the locality, have the institutional knowledge and can accomplish real results, the people that live here, not somebody from Michigan, but the people who live here, and we've got to tap those resources.
And there's an issue in Tallahassee with home rule. They're trying to take it away from the communities, and it appears like the Republicans are in on that.
Well, I'll tell you what, the only thing I can speak to is my example. And I passed a home rule bill on Sanibel that I pushed through. And the governor's very first veto was to protect that. They passed a preemption legislation and the governor said, nope, this is entirely Sanibel's issue. My very first veto in office is for Jason Maughan's bill down on Sanibel.
Very nice.
Nice.
Very nice. So how much money have you raised so far?
We're about a little over 250,000, and we've done that. And the best way to say we've really done that in a grassroots effort, in a campaign, and the friends of Jason Maughan together. But we haven't held a fundraiser. It's literally networks of friends and people who grew up here and realize that when you have a record of 30 years and people say, look, we know Jason Maughan, we know we can trust him. We know the only thing he's really interested in is getting home to his family right after he's gotten us results. And that's the kind of, quote, politician we want.
How much will you need to raise to really run a campaign where you're on TV, you're on the radio?
Everything's done. We're all squared away.
Okay.
Yeah.
The whole budget's laid out. I mean, these are things you need to plan for, just like budgets that we have here and we're dealing with the COVID, particularly. You need to plan ahead. You don't just show up and say, I would like lots of money. You need to say, this is what we need to accomplish to let our friends and neighbors know what our message is. And we've done that.
Are you a DeSantis supporter?
Oh, 100%. I was actually the first elected official in both Lee and Collier County for municipal or county level that supported the governor. And then interesting, we talk about water quality and getting results. I actually met with him at Sanibel Harbor. It was myself, I met with Matt Gates, and Sean Hannity was there too later. And I said, the only thing that I asked for was that the loggerhead for us was the water management district. And I wanted them all replaced. And for all the help that we could put in, he was like 30-something points down. Everybody laughed at me. I said, but he's anti-sugar, and he's a loyal conservative who just wants to put in people who are fair. Not wildly left, not wildly right, but that represent, if you grow up if you got nothing but sugar in your district, you should have a sugar representative. But somewhere here where we don't have a single stalk, right, you should have somebody who's not sugar representing and just get a fair shake in front of the government, because that's all we can hope for and all I expect.
So what do you think about how he's handled the COVID situation?
I think he's done a super job, and it's very difficult, and I think one of the things he pointed out about 3 weeks ago, he said, look, the press had said by now we'd have 440,000 people, would be up to our ears and overflowing. And he said the actual number is 2,100. Now, this is not a pleasant thing, and there's no good answers, but you've got to balance public safety against what are we saving? If nobody has jobs, and if there's no local economy, when we get out the other side, it's going to be 10 times worse. And the build back from that is extraordinary. So I don't think there's a win. One way or the other is not 100% right.
He was picking on New York for quite a while back, a few months ago, and now Cuomo seems to be picking on Florida. It's like a little game with some of the politicians about this.
Yeah, and it's quite clear that they've all made this about the election. And I'm suspicious that where we all fall on that list when it really comes down to it, because of course Cuomo had stuck all the sick people back into nursing homes. I mean, which was a disaster.
Right.
And so what did you think about the bars, the decision to close the bars?
Well, that came as a surprise. I was actually heading down to meet a friend of mine I haven't seen in a few years.
At
and
a
we were
bar?
going to get to talk to at a restaurant with a bar.
Okay, gotcha.
I should say that for everybody watching. No, but I actually got the news on that, and I represent a great deal of bars and restaurants in the area. And I actually started as a dishwasher when I was 13 on Sanibel down Blind Pass, the same neighborhood I still live in now.
Wow.
And now I'm the lawyer for the entire group of restaurants and represent a load of other restaurants. That's my American dream that I'm very happy about and earned it myself from the start to finish. I'm sad for bars.
I think you said that for a reason, that you earned it yourself.
Well, I tell you what, I was lucky. My dad was a successful man, and I could see the difference. And not that there's wrong with anything, but your mom and dad paying for everything or giving you a job. That's awesome. But if you want to really lead, you've got to say, you know what? I want to be like my dad. Right. He was my hero because he came to America, made himself a great deal of money. I said, I want to be just like, he said, no, listen, I'll help you pay for college and law school. I said, no. I need to earn it. And I told Babs, I said, both of us have good families. I said, but if we do this together, 25 years later, it'll be the two of us still together.
Is there a chance that you feel like maybe one of your opponents didn't do it that way?
Well, I tell you what, we'll let the opponent speak for himself. I appreciate you dangling that out there for me.
Now,
and it's over the fence.
You've mentioned your lovely wife and your son, but you've mentioned your lovely wife twice. I was reading, how soon after meeting her did you actually propose?
I waited 2 weeks.
2 weeks?
Well, I didn't want to sound like crazy, so I thought
he's a decision maker, that's for sure.
Listen, if I'd known now what I would have gotten 25 years, I wouldn't have waited the 2 weeks. But no, I fell horribly in love when I met her.
Go ahead. All right. So now what about the 4th of July?
Boy, that's going to be really sad because that's one of my favorite. And we participate in the parade every year.
Yes, you do. You actually have some accolades there, don't you?
We have won 3 or 4 times for most patriotic and best float. And now I try to concentrate, though, on the scout troop. And we do our parades. But we always had family and friends. And we all got together and we all built our float and all bunked down in one house. And they got up with crack of dawn because you got to be up early to get into your spot. And then go through with it. And we used to dress all the kids up as colonial soldiers. And then have them march. So it really was fantastic.
None of that this year.
I don't think so. I think it's going to be a big problem. And actually, Sanibel's I meet a lot of people who set their summer holidays around being there. We have thousands of people lining the roads. And it's great for the kids because all the restaurants and bars throw sweets out to everybody and tchotchkes and this sort of thing. And it's really, it makes my hair stand up thinking about it.
I want to get back to the bar question just for 1 second because the governor didn't it was when things were getting improved and things were starting to open, the governor announced it.
Yeah.
That announcement yesterday didn't come from the governor. So he didn't want to, I don't think he wanted to own it because he doesn't want to go backwards. It's clear he doesn't want to go backwards. He's not going to mandate the masks. But how do you get that the bars were the problem or there was some kind of problem when you don't say the protests and the looters are the problem? How do you get from...
Oh, God, don't stop. Listen, seriously, I couldn't agree with you more on that magical report that nobody got COVID at the protests in New York. How extraordinary. You know, but I'll tell you what, listen, what you need to do, and this is something that I always do, and you can nearly laugh at me, but I'm one of those guys who actually reads everything. So when the governor issues an executive order, I don't look to see what a reporter has decided it means. I read the executive order from line by line. And when you read the executive order, he took the extraordinary step to point out why he was doing this. He said, look, we went from phase 1, we went to phase 2, you had 50%. It is so sweeping how we have broken that rule. I cannot expect the police to be going around the place rubber hosing people in bars. And he said the net result is that younger people all got together, according to the numbers that came out yesterday that he delivered to all of us, and caused the issue. And he said, I can't enforce this place by place as a code enforcement as we usually do. Therefore, because everybody had a chance, quote, and unfortunately a lot of good people got thrown into that bag, really, but because everybody did, I've got to dial that back right now. And it was, if you read it, you can see it's heartfelt. I don't want to do this, but if you're going to not follow the smallest rules or not at least follow the 50%, and we've all seen it.
Oh, yeah.
If you're not following the 50% and you're not going to even try to social distance, well, guess what? I'm going to have to do something about it.
When you look back a couple of months, do you think that it was a complete overreach?
Over the whole thing? No, I think the initial, well, listen, it's one of those things is we're all Monday morning quarterbacks and Monday morning quarterbacks never lose. At the time, I think the media was doing such a crackerjack job of terrifying citizens. So I think the steps we took, and particularly to me on Sanibel and my city council, are really kind, intelligent, experienced people. Our population, the median age is 67, 68. So under the governor's mandate, we're actually like I'm sorry, everybody on Sanibel, I don't mean this way, but we're vulnerable and it's like a giant nursing home. The same rules apply to that. So when I said on the record at the time, I wouldn't support this at the county level. I don't support it at the state level, but that's not what I am now. I was elected to be a city councilman, and this city needs to follow those rules because of the citizens we have. And that's all that matters until you get to the next job. Then you start worrying. You don't do this, well, let me cut a deal to do what they want when I get up there. No, sir. You finish the job you're in before you go to the next one.
And they never closed the beaches on Sanibel.
We never did.
No.
We closed the parking lots and
it's $5 to get there. So there's
$6 on the bridge.
$6 to get there and $5 to park.
Yeah. And that's the county. We don't own that bridge, so that's the county's money.
Okay.
I know it's going to be very nice if we got all the money from the calls.
No
I can assure you.
So you're going to run for this. So it's how many total people in the race?
We've got 2 Republicans in the primary and 1 Democrat. Now, and I don't disagree with I'm obviously not like a lover of Democrats, but I don't disagree what they did. They noticed that there was about 15 seats that nobody was running in from the Democrat because they're hard Republican conservative counties like ourselves or districts. And then about a week before qualifying, somebody said, wait, if we don't have anybody in and a bus hits these 2 guys, we can't win. That's the end of it. So they just picked up people apparently off the street just about who are members of Democratic clubs, et cetera, and pushed them into the race so that they at least had hedged their bet. So that's really what that candidacy about.
So I was, wouldn't you agree President Trump is not a conservative in the true sense of how you are, or? Well,
I think there's a bigger discussion, and you're pinning me down to something that I've said it very clearly. I'm a Trump supporter, simple as that.
But that's
when you come to true conservative, I think he is a true conservative because those things that matter to me, I mean, that are viscerally important as civil rights, are the Second Amendment, is squashing illegal immigration. These are very conservative issues. Now, I think there's issues that can be discussed about budgetary, how much we're borrowing, et cetera. Those sort of things I think are worthy of discussion.
Right.
But the important key, America is great. That's what I like. And that's what the conservatives say. And to those of us who lined up in the rain in another country to get here, that's the country we came to. Not some horrible place, but a force for good.
So back to the question. If you go on too long, I'll forget the question. So I don't filibuster me. I'm just that age where I forget things. It's not your fault. So I wanted to get back to the conservative part because, well, on the immigration, he hasn't succeeded on that. So he did get elected. That was like the number one issue where he got elected. He didn't really succeed on that, but he tried.
I'm not entirely
he
sure
tried.
about
that. But do you worry about the conservative movement? I was listening to Ted Cruz and Senator Lee. Those are hardcore conservative members of the Senate. Do you worry that the conservative movement is there's no more Tea Party there? I mean, so what's going on with the conservative
Well, here, I tell you
movement?
what, the answer to that question is a simple statement. Then support real conservatives, people who are in the game and have asked for nothing more than the opportunity to serve, didn't try to cash in on it or get on TV or anything else, and they're getting results and self-identify at all times as a conservative, not whether you're with one crew or another, or not whether you want here and you want me to sell Trump out. It's just not going to happen. We either don't talk about it or we talk about something else. But I'm supporting the president 100%.
Got it.
Nope.
So, all right. So when you get elected to go to Tallahassee, do you have to live up there?
No.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you'd have to have a heck of a drive back here every day, and I don't have a private plane or something.
What's wrong with you, man? You live on Sanibel. You don't have a plane? Come on.
You know what? If you want to be,
this is in
deference to ladies, but in my book, if you want to be a real man and you want to look after your family, sometimes you got to go away to do a job that's important to protect them. And I consider it to be that. And we've talked together, and what we've set up is so that I can work a bit at night after session. We're to set up a Skype dinner, and I'm just going to get a one-room bed, sit somewhere, and then Skype dinner with the family, maybe watch Jeopardy or something on TV, and then work a bit more in the night, catch up on any stuff I need to read, and then be right back in the morning, and then be home Friday night out of town on the way in my truck.
How far is that drive? Do you
About
drive?
6 hours.
Yeah.
Think you could bike it?
No, but actually we're nearly late here. We just got to a zebra crossing, and the
you got to what?
To this crosswalk, and this guy. This guy was crossing over it, and he gets to the middle, and the car just drove right through. And he's one of those professional bikers, and his bike's feet are locked in. He just went.
Oh no way!
Yeah,
That's happened to me.
Stopped.
To him.
Oh my God! No,
was he okay?
Are you a Tour de France fan?
Not really.
Oh, come on now.
No, they cheat. They're cheaters.
Oh, please.
They cheat. They all cheat in that race.
Well, they moved that to August, but they're asking
gonna
to
still do it?
actually. There's an argument to cut the whole thing entirely now.
I believe it. I mean,
no, we get the
crazy.
whole peloton on Sanibel. I assure you.
Oh, you have a Peloton?
You have a Peloton?
No, they like to. I don't have a Peloton. I'm waiting for all the people that bought those
to use them as coat hangers.
Thank you.
Yes,
And then I said,
you
then I'm
can
going to buy one off
swoop in.
eBay.
That's an expensive coat hanger right there. Those things are a lot of money.
Like a super piece of equipment. I'll tell you
Well,
what.
that'd be a sweet thing to pick up on eBay or Facebook Marketplace.
That's what I'm waiting for. After they get tired, somebody will put it up.
So when you get to Tallahassee, what do you want to accomplish? And don't say clean water. We know that. Everybody wants clean water. So after water.
No, I tell you what I want to accomplish is what's best for the people of Southwest Florida. I think that's a simple thing. You follow the party line, but your eye has to be on the prize of the people you're protected. You're not up there, to make deals with something that involves something else. You need to keep focused on here, and you need to stay in touch with the district. You need to stay in touch with the resources so that you can bring the information to people who are too lazy to look at it themselves and say, this is why we're helping Southwest Florida. This is why it matters about these budgetary issues for us. And then when these budgetary cuts, and they're going to come, are coming, we've got to have other set plan B to deal with clean water issues. And I'm afraid, yes, it matters a great deal to me, because if you care about business, you better bloody well care about clean water, because that's the backbone of our business.
So how do you, what do you want to bring back then? What do you think needs to be brought back when you get up there?
Well, one of the
what do we
things
need?
when we're dealing with the budgetary, first of all, you can get all the money that you possibly can to bring, because we've all paid it in to our fair share as taxpayers, and we pay a great deal of money towards the state coffers. So you want to bring as much of that home for infrastructure projects as you can, and to increase the effectiveness of shop local campaigns, in-state tourism, the fishing industry here, making sure our beaches are clean and welcome, making sure that the companies around here have the support, making sure that the municipalities, and God, it's hot out here.
Yeah,
it is hot.
And making sure they have that kind of support. So that's really, and when we can't find that support, finding alternate solutions. Like one of the things that I'm very proud to be working on now with some friends is these artificial reefs which you hang under docks. Fort Myers Beach is working on, Marco Island. But you can make a trade-off. If they're going to cut water quality budgets, then we need to come up with local solutions ourselves. And something like that to be approved statewide for areas like us to get past the DEP, et cetera, and all the permitting that goes and say, yes, And then all of these beaches and bays and bayous, each dock, if we can get one underneath it, they're cleaning water more rapidly than just throwing money around the place and making people feel good.
Yeah, we had them on the show, the reef.
A couple times.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a couple of
super
times.
fellas
Yeah.
altogether.
So Kevin Ruane, is he going to win?
Oh, he's fantastic. He's a great lad altogether. And I'll tell you what, he is a budget champion.
Yeah.
And if there's one thing Lee County needs across the board are budget champions, and he really gets it. I'm terribly proud of him and his campaign.
Do you have people you're supporting for Sanibel Council that will run after you both maybe get elected?
And I
Your
just looked at my
wife?
wife.
Are you running?
I looked at my wife. I said, well, she's the person I like the
Oh.
most. But there's people out there, and I think everybody's focused right now. Our election doesn't come up until March of next year. So there's plenty of time for people in the community. And the community of 6,000 people, you pretty much know everybody who's knocking around.
That was a good not answer.
Like that.
Do you get to Ireland much?
We try to go home every summer. I visit my mom, and then she comes out and stays with us for about 2.5 months a year just to spend time. And she visits her sons wherever they happen to be working with their families.
How many brothers do you have?
I have 2 brothers. I'm the middle son.
Do you call
the
her?
middle son?
Do you call her mom?
I do indeed. I always have.
What is her nickname for you?
Son.
The
Unloved middle son. Now, I'm very lucky to have a super mom, and she's one of those ones that, when she comes to stay, she really helps out, and she's really kind to us. So when Babs and I are working, she'll have something together thrown into the crock pot, and having that kind of support really makes a lot of things easy because we're working a lot of jobs.
What was the COVID like over there?
We stayed at 12. We've actually jumped up, then we just went up to 13 a couple of days ago. And listen, this is one of those things that everybody needs to.
What do you mean by that? You went
12
up
cases
in the whole country?
in Sanibel.
In
You asked about
Sanibel.
Sanibel.
Oh, I thought I said, what's the COVID like in Ireland?
No,
I didn't
you
say
said
that. All right, let's start
Sanibel.
with Sanibel.
Wow.
Sanibel, I think we're at 16 now, confirmed. And on Tuesday, we're actually going to have a meeting about the masks, whether those are to be made mandatory or not. And I don't know if I can telegraph, but I'm not.
So the 13, are they all survivors?
I believe so,
Okay,
yes.
okay. And so let's talk about Ireland. How did they deal with it?
They did it like a semi-socialist democracy and locked everybody up.
A semi-socialist democracy.
And how did it?
I think they had just as many problems as everybody else did. I think they did a good job too, but I'm not prepared to strip people of their liberties that way. What they did was that it wasn't a case of if you think you're vulnerable, you should stay home. If you were over sort of 65, you stayed home whether you liked it or not. And you didn't go out, and the shops were organized to deliver food, which is a nice thing. But I don't like setting a precedent that the government can keep you locked up in your house.
Yeah.
Based on coverage by CNN or what
There's
Andy
no
Cuomo
way.
said.
I don't think there's any way this country can go back to that. Two people
No.
are angry. They're angry that it happened the first time, and it just killed the economy. And
No, we have loads of friends. They can hang out. They can make it for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And after that,
Right.
they're going to have serious problems looking
Right.
after their family. And there's a cost-benefit analysis to be had here. I mean, we're seeing the repercussions of people being locked down, the stress on families. And if we're going to look after families, we have to take them into account of saying, when you just destroyed both jobs of parents and the kids are trapped at home and the mom and dad are worried about how they're going to pay for things, that's a tough one to play.
What is your opinion? Do the masks work or not?
Were we all told to start that we were fools for wearing the surgical masks? They did exactly nothing. And then when they turned around when that wasn't playing well to say, well, if you don't wear a mask, now you've got to. So I think there's a lot of political issues in it. You can touch something for 2 seconds and then all of a sudden you've got it. I'm a great believer in there's a responsibility of citizens. You know what? If you're around an older person, give them the courtesy of 6 feet. Follow the basic rules. It's up to you because you'll get us back into this. But if you think I'm going to tie people down and put masks on them, or worse yet, make our poor police officers have to chase people around the place. This is not a time for oppressing them. They're under enough stress already.
Right. So,
Well, I think it's about giving people the choice, and they can choose what they want to do.
So do you think it'll come up for a vote at the Sanibel Council?
It'll come up on Tuesday. There's an emergency meeting being called to discuss it.
Just the masks. How do you think it'll go?
Well, I'll tell you what, I don't, obviously for sunshine reasons, I can't say with any of the others I think they're doing. I've looked at this matter closely. We've brought it up 3 times. Businesses are private property. If you want people to wear masks coming in, it's the old no shirt, no shoot, no dice.
Right.
You do that. And that's the correct thing if that's the right thing. But if people don't want to do that, then people who don't want to be around people not in masks, Don't go into that business.
Right.
That's
We
your
were-
call. This is where citizens do the job. It's not governments to treat us like little children and tell us what to do. So I'm a vote no on compelling mask, but a very hard vote yes for telling people, look, this is where we're all supposed to step up and do something ourselves. Not
Right.
cry baby to the government to do it for us.
Where can people find your information, give you money, donate to your campaign, any of
That's
that?
very nice of you.
Oh,
I'll tell you,
sure.
right after this, I'll get a check and then we'll talk.
Let's just pass around the bucket.
They can go to vote Jason Maughan, MAUGHAN.com. That's votejasonmaughan.com. Or they can always call me at my office, 472-2424, and we'll be happy to look after them.
Nobody has sweat more than you on our show. It's incredible.
It's hot.
Yeah,
No,
I'm
we
getting
have had plenty of
Cooked here.
people.
Yeah.
In fairness, I
And
do have
you're-
Irish treacle blood. So it's like gravy
I
in
have
me
no
now.
idea what that means, but thank you so much for coming on. Will you come back after you win the primary?
I would love that. And that's one of those things that, I'm still being involved between elections. I'm always at things. I'm doing what I can because that's the time it counts, not when the election is at. It's what were you doing
Right.
between this?
Right. Well, we appreciate you coming all the way
And
down to
Kim,
Fort
you were
Myers
so
Beach.
Thank
kind.
you
I
so
really
much.
appreciate
Good
it.
luck in the campaign, and hopefully you guys can send us some of those pictures that they were taking, and anything you need, just let
I'd
us
be
know.
very happy to.
We look forward to having you back. Jason
Cheers,
Maughan,
both of you.
everybody.
Thank you.
We appreciate him coming on and bringing his whole family down.
Did
And
you play the?
I didn't play it, dear. But before we get to our next guest, I know our next guest is
Thanks, guys.
laying around. Thank you, Jason, so much, and good luck in the race. I want to make sure that you see. I try to give her the cue that every time we do the bye-bye, she's supposed to shepherd the guest out, shepherd the guest in, but she doesn't do that. So I want to tell you about one of our sponsors, Shuckers at the Gulf Shore and the Cottage Bar. Shuckers and Cottage open every day, 8 a.m. to close, serving breakfast, lunch, dinner, and a late night menu. We also have a happy hour Monday through Friday from 3 to 6 p.m. featuring discounted liquor, domestic and imported bottle and draft beer, and classic food favorites. You can come by boat or car to 3 venues and 1 historical place, Shuckers Restaurant and Bar, the Cottage Bar and our Cottage Beach Bar and Cabana, and they have a really cool, it looks like it's it belongs in a resort out that you can just sit in that cabana and check out the ocean and the water, and that's at Shuckers and the Cottage Bar right down the street from us on Estero Boulevard. And we appreciate everything that those guys do for us. And we have a bunch of other sponsors that we're going to tell you about. And dear, I hope you made sure that they're going to send us those pictures so that we have those pictures. And thanks again to Jason Maughan. And I tried to play his ad before, but I guess the sound didn't work. So you could check it out on his website. It comes right up on his website. And we appreciate him coming on. He's a Sanibel council member now, and he's running for the House District number 76. Come on down. Our second guest is now entering the studio as Kim cleans off the microphones to make sure everything's working. All right, we might need you to back up a little bit so that we can get you on the camera right there. All right. What are you doing over there? You're not helping me out at all. Get back over here. I'm sure it'll be fine. She doesn't care. You can move right in. You're going to get the microphone nice and close. And everybody, Laura, I'm going to make sure I say this right. Laura Witt.
Horak.
Horak.
Laura Whitty Horak. Whitty's
All right.
my maiden name.
No C in the middle there.
Right?
So make sure, Laura, if you could come on our way a little bit so we can get you on the. You keep backing away. Why do you want to be close to me and you're afraid? She's not
Because
afraid,
I live
dear.
with
She's
you.
fine.
We already have exchanged
Have you been tested for
same
COVID?
air.
No, I have not.
Do you
been
know
tested
anybody
for
that
COVID.
has been tested for COVID?
I don't.
I don't either. You go by that stadium though on 6 Mile and it's packed.
It's packed.
There's
backed
lots
up.
of people.
Yeah.
Do you
for
think
sure.
people are going that are healthy that just want to know?
I think so.
I think thousands of people are just going.
I feel like a lot of people have said, I think I had it in January. I think I had it in February. I think my daughter actually did,
Right,
so
right.
I don't know. But
Well,
Your daughter
then
had
they-
it?
we think,
Think she
I mean,
did.
she feels
she was
like,
sick.
yeah, because she was sick.
I mean,
and
we
it's-
feel like our daughter had it back in March, and we went to get her tested, but at the time they weren't testing young people
Mhm.
who did not present with a cough. So she got tested for everything else, and that came back negative. So there's not a lot of options. But yeah, I think people want to know, so they're getting the antibody test, and we'll see.
Well, we didn't ask Laura to come on to talk
No.
about the COVID. She's not a COVID expert. I don't. Maybe you are, but that's
I'm
not why you're here.
I'm not.
So,
Not at all.
Laura, you live on the beach,
Right. We're right over the bridge. Yep.
okay? And you, your business is Paramount Residential Mortgage Group.
So I work for PRMG Mortgage. And then on the side, I have the Island Oils.
Okay,
So,
she's
yeah.
one of our sponsors,
Yeah.
everybody. Island Oils. We wanted
You
to make
scared
sure.
me there for a minute. I was like, wait a minute, what? I've got all this information on Island Oil.
I do.
She started last week, and we wanted to make sure that we got the information correct about the Island Oils because we bought some. We wanted to use some. And did you use it? You used it at the beach
I
this
used
week
it,
or at
yeah.
night?
Yeah, I used it at night, and it worked fantastically.
Awesome.
We've got some invasive bugs at our place, and we must have a hole in our lanai. But in any event, yeah.
And we're
So I used the roll-on.
oh, did you? Good,
Yeah,
good.
yeah,
We're
yeah.
right off the water, or we live on a canal.
Uh-huh.
So whenever my grandchildren come, like you can imagine, like
Yeah.
they get bit like crazy. So we're always rubbing it on them. And not only does it repel, but if you've already been bitten, it helps tremendously with the itch. And that's kind of where the roll-on came from.
Mhm.
Was it's real easy to take that roll on and
Oh.
roll it on your leg if you've already
Mhm.
been bitten on your legs or on your arm or whatnot. And then the spray is better, obviously, for the overall prevention of it because it sprays better.
And
That's-
what's
Now,
the-
how did well, let's back up a little bit here.
well, I want to make sure we put the
how and-
website out there
we
right
will.
quick so people can
All
look
right,
at it
go
while
ahead.
they're
Do the
watching. What's the
website real
website?
quick.
Sure. It's islandoilsllc.com.
Now, how and why did you do this? Because I
Okay.
know there's a little bit of a story
There
behind
is a
this.
story. There's a backstory to it. So our youngest daughter got married on Sanibel Island. So all of our friends that came from the north got annihilated with no-see-em bites. And they were like, what are these things? What's happening? And they itch like crazy. We all know that.
Mhm.
So, and they tend to attack northerners a little bit more, I think, than us that live here full time. So we were like, what can work? I mean, we tried everything for that itch.
Right.
And our friends were like, not so sure we're going to be coming back with those no-see-ems there.
Yeah.
So like, okay, what can we do? So that's when we started, okay, trying to figure this out. What's the process here? And we had like tons of them that we tried. And the one thing that we found was that if you had water added into it and you didn't shake like crazy and didn't know to shake like crazy, you were spraying water because oil and water don't mix.
Right.
So the oil sits at the top and the water's at the bottom. Well, where's your sprayer?
Right.
At the bottom. So we're like, okay, well, maybe that's part of the problem, but you could put shake like crazy on it.
Right.
But
right.
most people don't read it or realize it. So we thought, okay, we need to do 100% oil. So that's where we came up with the grapeseed oil. The 100% oil is the base, the grapeseed. And then we have 9 essential oils in it. So not only do they repel, but they also help with the itch, the anti-inflammatory.
And it
so-
moisturizes your skin with that oil in
Wonderful.
there,
Yes,
right?
Yes.
Which
Yep.
we can all use that.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree with you on the no-see-ems. When I first came down here and we came down from the north, we were inundated.
Yes.
And you, as the name suggests, you can't see them, so you
Right.
can't swat them. And so now it's not as bad. But yeah, they're that skin's so soft that we used to use up north for everything.
Right.
Nothing works.
Right. I agree. And a lot of it too is like they'll come and people say, what did I even get bit by? Like they
Right.
don't even know about them because up north we don't have no-see-ems. Like I've never heard of them before. So that was one of the big things. And so also too, the mosquitoes. It works great for mosquitoes as far as repelling them. And also if you've already been bitten, the itch. But at least mosquitoes, you see them. I mean, you
Mhm.
know they're around. So you can prevent that a little bit better. And then we were at Pinchers on the beach, and it was right before it was getting ready to rain. So flies were everywhere, like everywhere. So I took some and I sprayed it on like 3 napkins and set it on our table. And the hostess came by and she's like, "What? Like, where'd the flies go? What did you guys do?"
And now what else is in it? Because I know there's grapeseed oil is the base. There's a little bit of citronella in there,
Right.
correct? Okay.
Yep, there's citronella, there's lemongrass, and then there is, let me see, I have citronella, let me read them off here.
Oh,
Citronella,
sorry.
lemongrass, and cedarwood. Those are the 3 major
Okay.
components. And then the peppermint, the spearmint, the clove, the rosemary, geranium, and thyme are more for the anti-inflammatory, for the itch piece of it. So we had originally started down the path of something for an itch, Okay, that was our original.
What made you want to? What made you want to?
She already told the story,
Okay.
but you walked away.
Because
Sorry.
nothing worked.
Oh, gotcha.
So we and I love essential oils anyways, as it is. So it's just one of those fun things. It's not my full-time job,
Right.
Yeah.
but it's one of those fun things that we enjoy. And we had to figure out how can we do this so that our friends aren't like going to say, "I'm not coming to Florida
Right.
anymore."
So when you
So-
say essential oils, do you mean burning them, or there's some kind of
The essential oils,
yeah?
they're in
No, I know
so
they're in
sorry.
there. I know they're in there. But you said you love essential oils. Does that
because
mean
they have such great
I know? But you
properties. They
do other things with them?
you can use them. You can burn that. You can put
Yeah.
them in a
Diffuser.
diffuser.
That's what I mean.
You can apply them with another carrier oil for
Because every
any-
weekend she likes to rub some kind of oil on me, and I just wondering if it was essential oils
I
or
love.
they're non-essential oils.
I love Clary Sage. That's one of my, I love that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Have you rubbed that one on me?
No, I'm not wasting my good oils on you.
You know, and it's great for like sore muscles. There's so many
Mhm.
oils out there for sore muscles.
Well,
There's
I'll
oils.
need them then. She won't.
There's oils out there for if you have a headache.
Yeah,
Like
it cures a headache.
it helps. Yep. If you have a stuffy nose.
What do? You
if
rub it on your head, or you sniff it in the candle?
You can put it on like a cotton ball and
Yeah.
sniff it. You
Mm.
can diffuse it. You can rub it like behind your ear. You can put it on pressure points. You can put it with a carrier oil and just rub it on your wrist.
Yeah.
There's
if
various
you
different
come up
things.
with an oil that's good for a pain in the, you know what, I'll use that. Or it repels husbands. There you go.
there you
A
go.
husband repellent.
Can we just get
go. There you
along?
go.
Can we just get along
There
one
you go.
weekend, please? Please.
So now there's no DEET. To
No.
let everyone know, there's no DEET
Nope.
in this.
And
What
it's
does that mean?
100%
What's a
natural.
DEET?
Yep.
DEET is, I couldn't even pronounce it, but it's a chemical that's often found in bug repellents, and it's
Oh.
not good for you.
And
I don't
the
want
other
any
thing
deets.
too, I noticed somebody on the Facebook page had said, you know, you should just go ahead and add neem oil in it. Well, we are registered with the state of Florida. So what that means is that we follow all the regulations that is set forth by the EPA for a minimal risk insect repellent. So we've gone through them reviewing the labeling, the ingredients. There's certain ingredients that you're allowed to put in a spray for an insect repellent that's determined minimal risk. Most people don't realize that. There's a lot of people out there that are just putting things on the market that isn't compliant. But we chose to go down the road of actually following the EPA's guidelines for a minimal risk insect repellent. Another thing too that's kind of interesting is that every single state, you have to register with every single state, even when you're online to sell it.
No kidding.
So you can imagine.
What a pain in the neck
So
if you get.
it is.
Cost.
And the
I
cost
imagine.
too. So there's some states we're registered with, and some require like the efficacy testing, which is like $20,000 to show how long it repels a mosquito or whatnot. So we've
Forget
just
that
chosen
state.
not to
Yeah.
sell in those.
That's probably like
states.
New
So-
York and California, all the crazy liberal states where protesting is called looting.
Somehow he always gets that in
He's
there.
always
doesn't
got to pull
Hey,
it back
you
to
get
that.
a lot of good feedback from people that already use it, or the website is they're typing the website in there, so that's good. That's
he?
good.
It works awesome. I'm just telling you. You know, people say, "Well, it's 100% oil, so is it greasy?" No, it absorbs wonderful.
No, it-
I mean,
yeah.
it's a grapeseed oil that is a wonderful oil for your skin,
Yeah.
and it absorbs right away. You
Yeah, it's not like some sunscreens that
Right.
just are really it's like an oil. I mean, if you've used oils before, you know how quickly they absorb
So-
right into your skin and
Right.
don't leave a sticky, yucky feeling.
Right. I was just going to say that it's not sticky at all.
It's not. No.
And then also, when I talked about the itch, you know, the no-see-ums, you can just go crazy with that
Yeah.
itch. And so if that happens, you can just use that roll-on and just keep rolling over it. And in like 10 minutes, you won't have that itch.
All right,
of a
people,
sudden,
you've
you'll be
seen that.
like-
You've seen the website on there, so get on there right now and place the order. I mean that'll last a while too, right? That's
Oh,
not
it
gonna.
does.
That's not.
because it's 100% oil. It does
Yeah.
last a long time.
So get on there
It
and show
does.
them how powerful you all are when you work in groups like that. So get on there and order them because the no-see-em season is coming up, right? Or
Right. And the mosquitoes and
Yeah.
the flies.
Yeah.
Mosquitoes. Are
I
really
have
bad.
noticed a lot more, being that it's getting hotter in
I
our
have
backyard.
too.
Yeah. All right. Anything else about the products?
Nope,
Somebody
I
asked
think
if you had a store, and I said no. It was just
No,
online
it's just
for now.
online, but we do
Keeps the
have
price down.
Yep, and we sell at Ace Hardware on San Carlos.
Oh, I didn't know that.
We also sell at Island Girl at Wyndham, their little store that they have there
Cool.
by Pinchers, and then at the post office at Santini.
And I
Any
ordered it and it came.
places down here.
We don't.
okay.
And I need to get out. And I do because I have
Talk
a
to
full-time
Karen.
job
Yeah.
with
yeah,
the mortgages,
right.
and
I
we're
hear
super
ya.
busy with the
Nice,
mortgages
very
right
nice.
now.
Beach houses?
So yep, we do all of it. So
Nice.
and refinances too. So the rates are so low that it's just
What
going
are the
crazy,
interest rates
which-
on a house right now?
I locked a person in last week at a 2.75 on a 30-year. It was an
Wow.
FHA, and a 2.99 on a 30-year, and then a 2.625 on a 15. So
And are the
I-
prices reasonable or are they
Mhm.
high?
nope, they're reasonable.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep.
We're going to get that beach cabana soon, dear.
I know.
It's a great market. I'm telling you.
think
And
we're
I've
gonna-
been in the business for a long time, and we've had really low years where the rates have been great, and this is the lowest I've seen it.
What's the
So-
highest rate that you've ever sold a mortgage on?
Well, as far as me personally doing originating and locking in rates, it's probably your high 5s, 6s.
Okay.
But when I first started in the industry, when I wasn't originating, but I worked in the industry, it was like 16%. And so
Wow.
I'm going way.
Lord.
I can't
I
imagine
just
that.
aged myself. Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah.
no, you.
Uh-huh.
That's a.
Mhm.
Must have been a Democratic
So-
president at the time, but I'll leave that.
There
out.
he
goes
again. You're a good sport about it, though.
She is. She just rolls right with it.
Somebody
Yeah.
said soap. You sell
You got
soap?
I do have
and
soaps too,
lotions?
natural
Oh.
soaps. And,
Well, why
and
don't you tell
lotions
us
as well,
about
too.
the soap?
Because our mainstay is our oil, is our bug spray.
Do you
So
get a
that's
lot
our-
of people that have bugs on them in the shower? They need soap to. It would seem
Stop
weird,
it.
doesn't it seem? I mean, why do you?
It's
Why
just
would you?
an all
Need,
natural soap.
okay,
is
it's not.
what
A,
it
it's not a
is.
bug
It's-
repellent.
no,
soap.
No,
Okay.
it's not a bug repellent.
No.
It's just an all natural. We were sitting over there at the bench, and the lady next to us said, "One of you guys smells really good. What do you have on?" And I'm like, I don't even know what all I have on.
Because you wash with the soap
I
and then
do,
you
I
put the
do.
bug spray
And then
on. Do you
I
have
put the lotion on, and
you have
I-
shampoo
right.
that you have
No, I
too?
don't do the shampoo.
No.
Yeah,
candles?
no candles.
So Island Oils
Oils
LLC.
LLC.
We'll make sure everybody knows what it is. Well, we talk about it all the time and have it on the Facebook page. Well, thanks so much for
Thank
coming down. We
you.
appreciate
So
you,
much.
Really
and we
appreciate
appreciate
it.
you supporting the show.
Sure,
so
of
thank you so
course.
much.
Thank you.
And
All right,
for being
everybody.
a good sport.
Yes, and for being a good sport. She's a wonderful sport. We want to tell you about another one of our brand new sponsors before our final guest of the day, which you're really going to enjoy. So don't turn it off and don't go, well, you got nothing to watch. It's not like there's any sports on or anything. CCG certified public accountants, over 100 years in tax prep experience. You always want to have like the pressure washer, and you want to have the mechanic, and you want to have an accountant that you can trust. So if you want to trust somebody, you're going to call CCG and ask for Steve. He's our favorite. We've been working with him for many years, probably a decade now. 4 CPAs and 10 accounting professionals, 6 years in the business. They can do tax prep remotely, so you don't have to worry about catching the COVID. If you have any questions, go to their website now and contact them. And yes, they will do your taxes remotely. And I don't know if April 15th meant anything this year, or people can file their taxes whenever, but get in touch with CCG Certified Public Accountants, and it's CCGCPAS.com. CCGCPAS.com, or call them at 239-992-1973. And our final guest of the episode number 119 is Bernard McGarvey. Bernard, how are you?
Very good, thank you. Glad to be here.
And
This
he
is not-
knows the actual date that you have to file your taxes, which
do.
you didn't.
Well,
Yes.
It's currently July 15th.
And yes, folks, Bernard is also from Ireland. 2 guests in one
I
show from
know.
Ireland. How weird
crazy
is that? Yeah.
that?
So, Bernard, we brought you on because I think you and Jackie from the Chamber were chatting, and you thought we should tell more stories about island people that maybe they're not elected or people know who they are. Tell us what you
I
guys
love this idea.
Yeah.
It actually is a thought process from when I worked. I'm retired now, but I worked for Eli Lilly and Company up in Indianapolis. And the idea was that, there are times when you're working for a big organization, lots of people, they don't interact very well, right? And people end up thinking that some people are aloof or, hard to work with or something like that. So one of the ideas was the company got this idea. I don't know where they got it from. I'm sure it was an outside consultant, that, everybody has a story. And if you knew the other people's stories and understood where they were coming from, it would help you to appreciate them better, and that would lead to a smoother working relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of thought the same idea here. There's a lot of people here on the island. We all come from different backgrounds, but we're all living here. And, I like to think we're all focused on making this island the best island it can be, not just economically, but just as a place to live. So that was kind of the idea. Just ordinary people telling ordinary stories, because at the end of the day, you know, even though my story is ordinary, it's extraordinary to me.
That's
Mhm.
right.
Because it's my story, right?
Well, what is your story?
So my story is, I was born in Ireland in 1959. Okay, I'm not afraid to tell my age. Okay, and in Ireland, 1959, and I was born in a small town called Newbridge, 30 miles west of Dublin on the main Dublin-Cork road. And so I grew up there, and I went to school, went to college, and then eventually when I finished college, I ended up working for a company, a US-based pharmaceutical company, say Eli Lilly and Company. And so they had a plant site in Ireland, and it was quite small. So they had a lot of people, and they were very concerned about retaining people. And they were afraid that because the plant site was so small with not as many options as you might like to give people, that people would start leaving and they might lose some talent. So what they decided to do, because it's a US-based company, lots of space over for people over here, they decided on a program of moving people from Ireland over to the US, give them experience of working with the US, and then maybe they'd come back or maybe they'd stay in the US. It was up for grabs. So what happened was I was, what they called us was ISEs, International Service Employees. And so the idea was you'd come over, you still had an umbilical cord back to your home country, your home plant site, so that if anything went wrong, you didn't like it, you know, you were getting homesick, whatever, or the company didn't think you were a good fit for the way the US worked, right, for example, then either party could say, no, let's forget about this. We'll move you back and we'll guarantee that you have a job back there. So it was a very nice, it was a very low risk adventure to take. And so that's what we did. We in 1989, in October of 1989, I remember it well, we moved over. It was a really bad time to move because the weather in Ireland, being an island, is very temperate. It doesn't get very hot in the summer, doesn't get very cold in the winter. So we were here about 2 weeks and we had our first Indiana snowfall. And my journey from work to home was normally a 30 to 40 minute easy journey, mostly highway, right? That first night when it snowed, it was an hour and 40 minutes.
And that's when you wanted to pull on that umbilical cord back to Ireland.
I hadn't signed up for this one. But even worse, at that particular time, I had to go to California on my own for training. So I get out of the snow immediately. My poor wife is left with 2 babies, and she has to sort out everything. There's a lot of things you have to think about when you move country, even for a country where you speak the same language. The practical thing of getting what baby formula should I be using, stuff like that. Now, luckily, she had other women, Irish women that were already here, so they were really, really big help to her to help her going. But there's a lot of things to get used to. And I remember one of the funniest stories was when I went to California. So I was in a training course with these other people from the US. And so one Friday evening, the training course was finished and somebody said, let's all go out together and have a night out. I said, that's great. We'll all go out and have dinner somewhere. So I said, okay, I'm game. Nothing else to do, right? So they all looked at me and said, well, now you're the foreigner. You pick it, what would you like to eat? What would you like to eat? They were joking, what would you like to eat? And I always liked Chinese food, and I always like to try it in different countries because you can order the same thing, but it's always a little bit different. Yes. Because they use local produce, and it makes a difference. So anyway, somebody suggested, yeah, we know the perfect place to take you. So we go off to this place anyway, and we go in anyway, and wow, they put you around the table, and this chef comes out, and he's cooking the food in front of you, and he's throwing the knives up in the air.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought this was the best thing ever. Never seen anything like that. You get a show and a meal at the same time. So I get home anyway, back to where I was staying, and I couldn't wait for the next morning to call Ursula and tell her about this fantastic place I'd been. Just amazing. So go to bed, get up that morning, have the phone call with her. We get on, we exchange the normal, we love you, blah, blah, blah. And I said to her, I've got to tell you about this amazing place I was at last night. She says, hold on, I got to tell you about an amazing place I was at. Well, tell me. Ladies first. She said, yeah, I was on this place and they cook in front of you. It's Japanese. They cook and they throw the knives up in the air. She had been on the same night for the first time. in Indiana and California. We'd
Wow.
both been to Benihana's, and of course we'd never been there before. And I never even tuned into the idea of a restaurant chain. That was a new idea to me when it comes to restaurants, that you actually have. So first time I saw a Cracker Barrel, I thought this was a really great place. Until the second time, and I saw it's exactly the same thing.
It's still
Yeah.
a great
It's just a lot-
place.
yeah, no, it is. It is. But it was just like, you don't have to tell a lot of people about it because it's all over the
Yeah,
place. It's not.
yeah.
It's unique to me, but not necessarily unique to
Right.
anybody else. So, when we actually moved over, we were actually supposed to come for 2 years. I was working on a project. I used to joke about this. We're an Irish family working in the US. Okay. And well, I'm Irish. My wife is German originally. So we're Irish German working in the US. And the project I was working on was to build a factory in France.
Wow.
So it was kind of like a very international kind
Yeah,
of thing.
Yeah.
So we were only supposed to be here for 2 years. I had a 3-year visa, just temporary visa. And in fact, Ursula couldn't even work while we were here because she didn't have a visa to work. So after 2 years, the project went belly up.
Oh, wow.
So this was one of those things where the ISE idea kicks in. So the company said, look, you got a choice here now. We can send you back to Ireland, and we guarantee you a job. But they couldn't. I'm an engineer and I want to do engineering. So they said they couldn't guarantee me a job in engineering. They would give me a job and I might have to wait a year or two for
Right.
so I could have ended up in human resources or
You're
something.
answering the phone for somebody.
Yeah.
Who knows? But I didn't want to do that. And at the same time, they were doing some stuff out in Terre Haute in Indiana where they needed some engineering help. So they said, would you like to stay for at least a few more years? And then we'll put the decision off for a couple of years. I said, fine, let's do that. I wasn't ready to go back. So after 5 years, they came to me and said, so we got a problem. We renewed your visa, but it's only for 3 years, right? After that visa cannot be renewed. It just cannot be renewed. So we had to make the decision then. That was the real make it or break it decision. Were we going to stay long-term in the US or move back to Ireland? Because I would have to get a green card. And that's a prolonged it took me a year, even using lawyers. The company used lawyers. It took us a year to get a visa. So we eventually got the visa, or the green card. And then that allowed us to stay permanently. So we stayed. And then I spent all my time up in Indiana. I worked there till I retired at the end of 2017. We did become citizens.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's interesting when you ask people why did they become, so I'll ask a lot of other Irish people that are here, why did they become citizens? And you say, well, why would you become a citizen? Because I have the green card, they can't kick you out, right? That's my permanent residency, so I can't be kicked out. So that's not the reason you get it. So I was asking people, why? Well, maybe because you want to vote. Okay, that is a valid reason. But everybody I talked to said the real reason was inheritance taxes.
No kidding.
Because apparently, I don't know if the laws are different now, but apparently in those days, and everybody said the same thing to me, so I have to believe it's true. They said that if you retire, or if you die, so let's say I had died, okay, and we're not citizens, then the IRS would make the assumption that Ursula will move back to Ireland
And they keep your money.
and take everything with her. And they wanted a piece of the pie, an extra piece of the pie before you took it back.
Of course.
That's what I was told.
So how did you get down here to Fort Myers?
So that's an interesting story. So my wife is a warm weather person. I'm not. I'm really not a warm weather person.
Well,
And
you're not sweating like Jason Mon is or was, so
Well, he had 2 shirts on.
I know.
And I'm getting used to it. Okay, I've been here a while now. So what happened was, she claims that for about 5 years before we bought down here, she was trying to influence me subtly, because she knows that if she wants a big change, she has to work on me very, very slowly.
Yeah.
Right. And eventually she'll get her way, but it takes
Right.
time.
She gets her way every day, but different story, different day.
So, so basically, we came down here in Christmas 2011. We stayed in Estero for a week over Christmas with the kids, just because as your kids get older, you get less time to
Right.
spend with them. So we had a very nice Christmas down here, and I started thinking about it. Wouldn't this be a nice place to live? And one of the things actually that attracted me was the slow traffic,
It's very slow.
because everything is slow.
Yeah.
And there's not people rushing around, and it's a nice.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I'd like to work here, but I certainly would like to retire here.
Mm-hmm.
And then I said to myself, as I looked around, I said, there's 3 different types of people who live here, right? There's people who are retired,
Mm-hmm.
okay? And generally speaking, if you're living here and you're retired, unless you've got health problems, you're in good form, you're living in a nice place, you've presumably got money in your pocket,
Right.
you're in good form most of the time, right? And then the other group of people are people, of course, who are on vacation. And they're always in good form because they're trying to squeeze that time into their little block of vacation time. And then the third group of people are all the people who look after the other two groups. And they tend to be in good form too, because that's the way you make your money, by being in good form. So, I kind of characterize it saying, it's very unusual to see somebody in bad form as you go around. It has a very nice atmosphere. And plus the fact that, it's an island. And an island is very discreet. So it reminds me of my hometown, small.
Got you.
And, if you're living in Fort Myers or Bonita or places like that, it's kind of like you can't, you're living in Bonita, but where does Bonita begin and where does Bonita end? And what's my community? Right?
Right.
It's very easy to define the community of Fort Myers Beach.
For sure. Yeah.
And I think that's a huge advantage
when
you live in a place like this. Now, obviously, we do have an awful lot of snowbirders and stuff like that, and that has an impact. But I do think it is a good a good attribute of the place to be able to say, oh, here's where it starts and here's where it ends.
Right.
You've got one road coming in, you got one road going out.
So you bought a house on the island?
Condo down in Bay Beach Lane.
Okay.
I'd always wanted to retire to a condo, and Ursula always wanted to retire to a hot place. So we both got what we wanted.
Nice, very nice.
You really can't beat that. Yeah.
Well, we're glad you're here, and we're glad you came up with this awesome idea.
I know.
So
And thank you for
So
sharing.
there's
your
one thing I want to
story.
say before I finish is I just want to make a plug for the Fort Myers Beach Lions.
please
Yes.
do. You had a celebration the other night.
Yes,
With the Lions.
We
Tell
did.
us about
we had
that.
our annual award ceremony and a swearing in of our, if you like, it's not swearing in, but adoption of our new board. And when I moved down here, I was looking for some organization to join.
Sure.
And what happened was I got to my first shrimp festival in 2018, March of 2018. And I was walking around this thing and I'm thinking to myself, any organization that can organize this
Yeah,
can't
no
be
kidding.
half bad.
No kidding.
Yeah.
And I think I could do okay there. So I joined the Fort Myers Beach Lions, and I've been very fortunate to have done that. So my little plug is, if there's ways you can help, anybody can help us. You can make donations, but also join.
Yeah.
We're always
How do
looking
you
for
join?
new-
Now you were the chairman for the shrimp festival, weren't you?
I was the chairperson for the expo and for the permitting. So
Gotcha.
we divvy up the major tasks between people. So I was organizing last year or this year. I organized the expo. It was really funny. I was here at 5:00 in the morning on Friday, and then 11 o'clock or 10 o'clock we find out it's
I
Sunday.
know. It was so-
I know,
it was just very, very.
Yeah.
But I understood it.
Yeah,
and
for
all
sure.
that,
So
it's one
the
of those
dates
things.
are out for next year. Is all
Yeah,
the
because the way the Shrimp Festival works is it's the second full weekend
In
in
March,
March. That's
right.
how they time it. So in 2021 it'll be the timing will be the 14th and 15th
Of March.
13th and 14th of March. 13th and 14th of March, Saturday and Sunday. And in August is when I start the process going of sending out for vendors for the expo. So one of the other things I wanted to say is, maybe over the months you can help us with
yeah,
this.
for
is,
sure. We'd love to.
advertising that.
Yep.
'Cause we're always interested in local vendors, people who live in Fort Myers Beach. Because for this year I had the experience where a week or two before the event, I was getting calls from a couple of people in Fort Myers Beach, and I'd already filled spaces.
Okay.
Whereas if I'd gotten those much earlier, I might have been able to find slots for them.
Yeah.
So
What's the cost for a space?
it's the basic cost is $300.
Okay, $300, but you're going to make that back probably in the first 2 hours because of the massive amount of people
Yeah.
that come for that event.
That's what we
And it's been like 160 years or something. The event's been going
60
on.
years.
60 years, sorry.
60,
Uh,
60 this
yeah.
was supposed to be our 60 seconds.
Yeah.
60 seconds.
So will you make the next one the 62nd and a half or the 63rd or what do you
Good
call
question.
Yeah.
That's a
So
good question.
I saw that the dates were up on the site. All the permitting done and all that already?
Oh, no.
Oh, it's too early for that.
No, that's
Yeah.
a hugely long
Gotcha.
process. But one of the things I did do during my downtime was I've done a complete documentation of my permitting process.
Oh, so you're
So now
totally
I've
organized.
kind of got it all
He's
organized now.
a chemical engineer.
Well,
He's
not only that, but I worked for 34 years in the pharmaceutical industry. And in that industry, if you didn't write it down, it never happened.
Yeah.
That was the philosophy. So you
Well,
can just write stuff down.
I hope you can help us out with. Well, it's not going to be easy to top your story, so I hope you can help us out with some other stories. But anything you need for the Lions Club, and how do people join?
they go on the website, fmblions.com.
fmblions.com,
And
everybody.
the information is all out there, and you can also make donations if you feel so inclined.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for
Thank
coming
you
on,
so
and
much.
thank you for
Thank you for
living
having
on the
me.
island, and we
Thank you.
appreciate your time
We
very
love
much.
to be here.
Yes, that is Bernard McGarvey, everybody. He is a lion. You're still a lion, right? I mean, yeah, he's a lion for life now. And please say hello to Ursula for us, and thank you. Oh, no, she fractured her hip. Oh, okay. All right. Have a great weekend. Thank you so much. And Bernard McGarvey is a Fort Myers Beach resident, part of the Lions Club, and the Shrimp Festival is coming up in March. And we have a story to tell you about the Tiki Tours. So before you guys go running off to do your little thing, whatever you do on Saturday, we want to make sure you know the Tiki Tours are open. We went on the Tiki Tour last Sunday for Father's Day, and they have private boats for up to 4 people for only $119, up to 6 people for $179, and that's per boat, not per person. Bring your own beer or booze or whatever it is that you like to get sloppy on. Any drinks or food, you just bring it with you. They supply the U.S. Coast Guard captain. And I want to talk about this real quick, dear. We went on
about the tiki.
Yeah,
no?
we went on Can you get a little closer to the camera now so everybody can see your prettiness? So we went on the tiki boat, tiki tour boat. Well, you know what I'm saying. And the best part about it was the captain. I mean, that made the trip.
He was amazing, and I will say he was super funny, and you guys were yucking it up, going back and forth. The other thing is how you feel like a celebrity to the extent that all the other boats are taking your picture. They're not really taking your picture. They're taking a picture of this floating tiki.
Yeah, that was interesting to watch. Everybody wanted to take a picture of it,
and we posed and waved, and we got to see the dolphin, the fairy pod mother out
Monica
there.
was out there.
Monica was out there. We got to pick up some garbage that was out there. That was good too.
Yeah.
I inadvertently dropped something, and we turned around and got it, and then we found some other stuff to pick up. But he was great, and thank you to them for hooking us up with that.
Right, and it really is worth a shot, folks. I mean, it was early in the morning, which was nice for us because we still went out to lunch for Father's Day, and it was a super nice time. And it's the perfect amount of time for me because it was like 90 minutes, but maybe it was a little longer than that, and it was great. It was great.
It was
the water
great.
was nice.
It goes very slow. You're not going to get seasick. It does not go fast. It goes very slow. You can have up to 6 people on it. They have 6 little bar stools. You bring your own food and beverage.
I said that already.
Oh, okay.
Thanks for listening to the podcast.
Did you say they bring ice? Because you yelled at me about the ice, and then he was like, "I've got the ice," which I knew.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's over by Salty Sam's, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they take you out, and you get to see all the big yachts, and you get to see all the rich people, and you see the fairy pod mother.
And if there's dolphins out, I know she said there was a baby in the area. We didn't get to see it, but
so call 239-887-0042. That's 239-887-0042 and schedule your Tiki Tour today. All right, so I want to make sure everybody knows that we're going to have a special show on Thursday at 5 o'clock. Attorney Beverly Grady will be coming on with us from the home studio. We're going to talk about Bert Harris lawsuits, land use regulations, the Fluidra process, and what all that means is we want to make sure that you all out there understand, if you want to, what is going on with the dune walkover situation and what the potential amount of money if that goes that far. Right now, we're kind of in nowhere's land because the homeowners, Eddie and Kurt, backed out of the mediation because they felt like the town attorney was dragging his feet and they wanted things to snap up a little bit and move a little faster. So they backed out. The town says they're totally willing and able, and they want to get back to the mediation process, but that's where we are. And so from the way I understand it, it takes like 3 or 4 weeks to file a Bert Harris lawsuit. And if anybody wants to really get totally bored and do something, try and study the Bert Harris lawsuits. Yeah. It's incredible what goes on.
Well, even taking a deep dive into the previous litigation that's gone on around this issue. I mean, one of the documents I looked at, I think it was 170 pages long. Plus the language, the jargon that's used is obviously for legal. Right. And so there's a certain amount of interpretation. I mean, it's difficult.
So the town has denied them a special exception for a dune walkover that would allow them beach access from their house to the beach. There's so much involved in that area with a critical wildlife area that may not be a critical wildlife area if you ask certain people. There's also who owns the property, because you own the property if you're a homeowner from the home to the high tide line, and they moved the high tide line out closer to the beach in 2014. So
yep.
there's that involved in it also.
And that move, not anything they did or anybody did, it was the state moves the line out. That moving of that line caused them to lose the access that they had where they could skirt around on their neighbor's area.
Right, they were walking through their neighbor's backyard.
Well, it wasn't at the time. It wasn't their neighbor's backyard. It was
Public property.
That was public property. Once they moved the
right. Let's not get too far in the weeds today.
His property, and he, as is his right, put up a way
Hedges.
so they couldn't get through.
He blocked the access to
and
the
I
beach.
wouldn't want people walking on my property because you're responsible if they
Right,
fall and get hurt.
Right. So the other thing, now I'm hoping I'm not going to forget this, is that, okay, so there's a potential for the town to take this through the lawsuit process once Eddie and Kurt file the lawsuit and win. They could win. And that would mean that they don't get the dune walkover, but there's also a possibility that the town residents could have to pay for if the judge, now when I say win, I mean they only win that they don't get the dune walkover, but if they lose the lawsuit, they can still not let the dune walkover be built because they have the right to not approve the special exception. So what I'm saying is
you're getting too wordy.
Yeah, what I'm saying is the town could never pass a special exception, but if they lose the lawsuit, there's a potential that it is confusing. That's why we need an attorney on the show. We should ask Jason about this.
That whoever wins, and both sides win and both sides lose.
Right.
In both scenarios.
The worst case scenario is the town residents have to pay for the devalued amount of the house because they know how the two houses because they no longer have access to the beach, and that could be millions of dollars, and that doesn't include the legal fees, in which they might have to pay. All of that
is negotiable, is from what I understand.
Okay, well, there's also a possibility that this could go back to the council and 3 people could vote to kill it without losing any more money. We're losing one of our microphone things out there. So Thursday is the day that we're going to have Beverly Grady on. She's going to talk to us about all of these issues, and that's going to be at 5:00. So, of course, we'll tell you more about that. And I do want to talk about one more thing before we say sayonara. That's a Benihana thing. Where did you travel to as we think about expanding our brand and doing more things with our show? Where did you go yesterday?
So I did a little tour up the coast. I went up to Siesta Key, which was lovely.
Don't they do a reality show, Siesta Key?
I know you said that. I haven't seen it. And then I went up to Longboat Key, and I stopped into both of those places, Chamber of Commerce, and all of the people were very helpful. Very different. They're very close.
Is there a place to do a show up there?
Not that I could see at Longboat Key, although they're incorporated, so they're their own town. Siesta Key, there was more opportunities or places, but they are not. They are part of Sarasota County. So
how would we do that? We would do the Saturday show, then pack everything in the truck and go to Siesta Key?
It's a bit of a hike, and I know you're kind of
sissy.
Yeah, you're not good with the traveling thing, but the beaches were nice, as they are nice here, but very different. The parking was free.
So that's that's nice. Yeah.
So it was like 1,000 parking spot.
And they were all free.
And they were all free. Yeah.
So you're going to vote for Jason Mon?
I don't know.
Or Bobby Botana?
Well, there's still other candidates in there.
Oh,
I have to look at all of their.
You're such a talk about being a sissy.
I have to look at all of their stuff.
And Jason
I did
just
like
posted
some of the stuff. I did like some of
everybody's. You're so on the fence. For those of you that
on the fence, and
you're on the fence.
Oh, and I think you were rough today.
You have to be rough on candidates. You have to ask them a tough questions.
I know, but
what was the rough part?
Were you really trying to pin him down about his opinion of Trump's conservativeness?
Well, okay.
And there was something else too. And then you turned to me to ask a question, and I'm like,
you're afraid. You're afraid
I'm in shock that you're.
You have to ask. They're not afraid to answer the tough questions. That's why they're running for office. Please. What do you want me to just? I dropped him a couple of softball questions too that he hit out of the park. Relax.
Listen, he answered them, and then you
Yeah.
always have to make a follow-up to try and get a little bit more out.
Because the Trump thing is really starting to aggravate me. I just don't think that people are serious when they say they support. No, I'm not saying Jason. I'm just saying I just don't think they're serious about that.
Well,
you
you're
can't
kind
take
of
them
a
seriously.
flip-flopper.
I told you I would never vote for Joe Biden. I mean,
You're a
here's the
flip-flopper.
best. Here's what I was thinking about on my bike this morning when I biked 50 miles on the way here. That no, listen, come on, listen. Then we'll be done. Cut it out. The best thing maybe that could happen to the Republicans is if Joe Biden gets elected. You know why? Because then they'd have 4 years to find a real candidate. Now, I'm not saying he should be elected. I'm not saying Trump's not going to be elected. I don't know what's going to happen. It's going to be close. But what I'm saying is, there's no way Joe Biden's going to get 8 years. I mean, come on, he's senile now. He can't come out of his basement without a walker. So I just think that the Republicans would have 4 years to find a real candidate that's, not a reality show host.
And then what are you going to do? Vote?
I don't know.
Wait
what
a
I'm gonna
minute.
do.
What did you say?
What do you mean?
They could find a
A
candidate
real candidate, like a real.
that's not a reality show host
Yeah.
like you guys have.
What do you mean? Like, yeah, well, yeah, he's a reality show host. What do you mean, us guys? I told you I'm not a huge Trump fan, but I would never vote for a Democrat or a Biden. But anyway, so the final thing I wanted to talk about today was somebody.
Oh, there's something else.
Somebody asked what closed yesterday, and that's a great question. The state, not the governor, apparently the state closed the bars. They didn't close them. They said they're not allowed to sell alcohol. So basically that means they're closed. So, it just destroy another, how many businesses across the state. But from what I understand, it doesn't really affect restaurants that sell 50% food and 49% alcohol, or 51-49. So the restaurants are fine.
Right.
So go to a restaurant, please
it's
come down to the
same as
beach.
it
The
was
beach is
before.
fine.
That's how they did
Do
it.
you think, now I didn't know Sanibel was having a special meeting. We're going to have to cover that to see if they vote for the masks.
Uh-huh.
Do you think that Fort Myers Beach will hold a special meeting and vote for mandatory masks?
I think it's a distinct possibility.
Yeah. The other thing is I heard that the beaches in Miami closed or somewhere down
Oh,
there.
I
Did
didn't
you hear that?
I did not hear that.
Even if they didn't, let's say the beach for the 4th of July, not permanently.
Oh.
So if the beaches down there close because it gets crazy, what happens then? Where do they go to the beach? They probably come up here. Do you think that they would vote? They would hold a vote to close the beaches here again ever after what happened? Yes or no?
I think they would.
You think they'd hold a vote?
Yeah. I think that's their right, and they'll do what they think is right.
All righty. Anything else you want to go over?
No.
All right, everybody. We'll please pay attention to the Facebook page. We got the whole mask discussion going on there, which has been massive. And we appreciate everybody and all our sponsors. We'll be back here at Pete's Time Out, the most world famous place on earth and the best place on the beach. And we appreciate Pete and Debbie and all our sponsors. And
Yes,
we will be
thank you.
back for a special show on Thursday.
If you ever stop this show.
If this show ever stops, I just can't stop talking. Well, it's 10:22, everybody, and that's Eastern Standard Time. And we will see you. I can't find the mouse. We'll see you again sometime soon. Bye. Bye.